Hi guys, and welcome to Sunderland vs Oldham match review. So Sunderland have just been knocked out of the Papa John's against Oldham. They've lost by a goal to nil. And, the pizza trophy, the Papa John's, it isn't our priority. I get that, 100% get that. But I will never be able to get on board with the sort of, I'm glad we're out because now we can focus on the league. I'll never be able to get on board with that, or no one will ever be able to sell me the vision of it's a good thing that we've just lost to second from bottom, League 2 Oldham. Regardless of the competition, you'll never be able to sell that as a positive to me. I think that's a pretty shambolic performance. Granted, it was the majority, it was the kids, which was the majority, but it was an absolute shambles of a performance. So we'll get into it. So we started with Lee Burge in goal. We had a back three of Jamali in the middle. That was really, really good to see him back. You had Young on the left of the back three and Alves on the right of the back three. We then had, in midfield, we had Dunn. We also had, we had O'Brien in there, Embleton in there, Diaku, Wilding, Kimpioka, Harris. So it was a mixed bag of a little bit of experience and the kids as well. I actually expected Lee Johnson to put out a more experienced side, a stronger side, and I'll tell you why. Because if you look at, I think one of the games in the Papa John's, even in the group stage, it was almost full strength. I can't remember exactly which game it was off the top of my head, but one of them he did use almost a full strength squad, whilst the others it was a mixed bag, of course. But for me, I thought he would have gone a little bit stronger for this. But either way, you would expect the side that had been put out to deal a bit more damage to Oldham. And we looked poor. We looked really, really poor. Of course, the system was a bit different to usual. And I feel like he just thought of a system and just picked all the wrong players for that system. Diaku isn't a wing back. I don't think he's much of a footballer, to be honest with you. I think he's a very poor player. But that's by the by. That's just my opinion. But he's not a wing back, so I will give him that. We've got on the other side as well. O'Brien at times, he was playing centre midfielder. He was playing it as almost a CDM at times, just sitting in front of the back three. It was just an absolute mess as a system. But the performance should have been better regardless. You think that these kids would be, obviously coming from the second string or coming from the youth side, you think that they'd be young, hungry, and really wanted to go for it. And half of them, or the majority, again, this seems harsh, but they didn't seem even nearly on par with League 2 Oldham, who are currently second from bottom. Oldham haven't won. I think they've won 2 from the last 10 games or something like that. Second from bottom, looking poor. And half of these players didn't look, they didn't have a patch on these Oldham players. They were really up for it. We had a couple of chances, breaking forward. Kimpioka, he has a little bit of liveliness in him. He's bright. Early on, he managed to get him behind. He's done his man, sent him to the ground. And all he has is the keeper to beat. He's hit it into side netting. There was another time with Kimpioka as well, where he does get in behind, and all he has to do is slide it across for Harris. But he's made a mess of it. It took far too long, and the chance is gone. But other than that, we did not test the keeper whatsoever. Diaku, as I mentioned earlier, and I know it sounds I'm being harsh, but if you look at my previous reviews, I'm saying the same thing, but my reviews on Diaku as a player and his performances are getting gradually worse and worse and worse, because it's just what I'm seeing. He can't take on his man. His positional awareness is horrible. He doesn't give the easy pass or just the simple pass when it is on. So I don't see what he's offering. He's weak as piss, so he gets bullied. He kept on trying to take on the left back this evening, and he made it so easy. He kept trying to nick it round one way and then try to run another. And every single time he was outmuscled and outpaced by their left back, who didn't even look particularly quick. He doesn't offer anything. At one point, O'Brien was stood on the right-hand side with the ball, and he was screaming for Diaku to move, and he just did not move. So O'Brien was forced to go backwards, and after he passed the ball, he visibly looked back to the sideline and screamed at Lee Johnson. And it looked like, for me, from what I could gather, from what I could see, it looked as though he was screaming about Diaku. And, lo and behold, he came off at half-time, Diaku, because he was horrendous. He was so poor. He really, really was. And I know a lot of people do like him because, he's a young lad. It's exciting that he used to play for Bayern Munich and that. On Instagram, he's flashing, showing all his flashy clothes and all that kind of stuff. And, young fans like that kind of thing. But, I actually wrote a piece a couple of years ago for a Love Supreme fanzine. And it was when we were just coming out of the championship, or when we were in the championship. And a similar thing was happening there with the likes of Soro and Madja, who, regardless of how they played, and even though we were shocking in the Championship, because they had these sort of Instagram personalities, they had the flashy clothes on Instagram, they were getting idolised by kids who were constantly saying, regardless of how badly they were playing, they were constantly being called, oh, you're a legend, you're class, oh, nice clothes, you're amazing, you're this, you're that, and the other. I'm thinking, how low have we fallen? You know, you're heaping so much praise on these players who are really, if we're honest, being brutally shit. They have been shit, you know, so that was a piece there to write, you know, that these players are getting filled in their mind, these young lads, that they're so much better than what they are. You know, it shows on the pitch what you can do, and I'll give you the praise if you deserve it. But, you know, that's the comparison that I'm giving. You know, a young lad, Dietrich, he's been terrible, yet if you look at his Instagram, he's been praised like a frigging god because he has a nice pair of trainers. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, of course I'm going a bit off tangent here, but that's just one of my frustrations with the modern day game at the moment. You know, young lads being praised for their trainers or the frigging jeans or the jackets or the coats or the bling watches that they've got, rather than the shite performances that they're giving us, you know, on the pitch. So, yeah, first off, it was mainly Oldham. It didn't really necessarily test Burge too much, but they were getting down the bylines, and the switches of the play, it was obvious that the system wasn't working. Every switch play, every switch ball, it was doing Younger on one side, or it was doing Alves on the other. They'd get it down to the byline, fizz it across goal, and it was just a scramble for our lives to try and get it away, and that was the majority of the half. Oldham, they looked the better side. The second, you know, Dietrich did come off, Embleton come off as well, Wern come on, Kachosa came on as well. And I thought, okay, we brought on two lads here, two quick lads from the academy. Maybe we can just get a bit of width on the side now. And we were even slower. The tempo dropped considerably. We sat deeper, and we had no urgency to the game at all. And eventually, ball gets pumped upfield, and it ends up. I think it may have been Dunn. I could be wrong there. I think it may have been Dunn, who got out-muscled by a lad. He looks about half his side. He looks about 5'5". Gets out-muscled by him. The ball's bouncing. He's misjudged it badly. He's let it bounce in the first place. Then he gets sort of roughed up a bit by a lad half his size. He wrestled away with it. 1-1 with Burgess, a nice finish, and it's deserved. 1-0, and even then we just didn't look like we wanted it at all. I think Dunn wrestled into the box, you know, after a generally poor view, and he wrestled into the box, and from a tight angle he's gone for goal. It's a good save from the keeper. Other than that, we didn't test him. Absolutely nothing for the remainder of the game. And yeah, it was a shocker. It was an absolute shocker. I felt so sorry for the Sunderland fans there, because granted, yeah, it's a pizza trophy. The quality on the pitch was never great anyway, but just the lack of urgency, the tempo, and the severe lack of quality from our academy lads, our young lads, that's a shocker. And that is it's a bit of a blow really, because we like to try and pride ourselves on the youth that are coming through. And like I say, none of them looked, or the majority didn't look League Two standard, which is it's a harsh review of them, but from what I saw on tonight's viewing, they did not look even League Two standard. So yeah, it's annoying that we have lost to Oldham. Yes, granted, like I said at the beginning of the video, it isn't the end of the world and it isn't our priority, but I will never ever be buzzing or say, oh, it's a bonus that we've been knocked out of the cup because we can focus on the league, so I'm going to take a positive from losing to Oldham. That I will never ever do that. I will never take a positive from that. In terms of man of the match, I don't really know who to give it to. Kimpioka, he looks relatively energetic at times. I'm seeing a lot of praise being given to Harris, although for me, you know, I don't think he looked that great. You know, we held up the ball a couple of times very well. There was one chance right at the end of the game where a good ball from Dice, who come on, he whipped it in, and rather than, you know, being, you know, staying vigilant and focused at the back post, it's almost like he didn't really expect it to come through to him, and he would have had a tap in, which kind of half-assed go for it, and he's just kind of let it go out for a goal kick. So I didn't really see that either. For me, I'd probably just give it to Jamali purely because it's good to see him back in the pitch, and at times he did boss it at the back. You know, he's not the quickest, so a couple of times he was cut out pace-wise, but, you know, in the air and stuff, he won everything, but I can't really drag out too many positives, if any, for that game. But yeah, so that's my sort of viewing on the game. I'm not going to shout and swear because, again, it's the Papa John's, but the brutal review from me is that 99% of those players did not look good enough at all for our standard, which in recent weeks it hasn't been great. But either way, you know, it was the kids. So let's look to this weekend where we get back to first team action. We're taking on Oxford. Now, I am going to be at the game. I'm going to go up to Sunderland. So it'd be nice to see you guys there. If you do see me, don't hesitate to say hi. It's always really nice to see you guys. Now, of course, last weekend I didn't make a review or a preview for that game because I was working all weekend, but I did manage to watch the game at work. But obviously I just didn't have the time to do a review for it. And I'll give my brief sort of thoughts on it. We did win by 2 goals to 1, which is of course is a really good win. A lot of people were maybe a little bit overly negative, which sounds great coming from me, considering I've just spoke for the last sort of 10 odd minutes, been utterly miserable and negative. But for me, I think it was actually a really good win. 2-1, and purely because the first half, we had the wind in our favour. Great goal from Broadhead. We managed to get back in front as well after being pegged back at 1-1. But the second half, the wind. I know they had the wind in. We had the wind in our favour in the first half, but the second half it picked up a lot. You had Hoffman with every time we tried to take a goal kick, it's going back almost for a frigging corner or a throw-in at times because it was that strong and it was a nightmare to get out of our own half. Again, Dietrich for me was so poor in that game. He was just slowing the play down and then losing it. He could not take his man for the life of him. I think there was one time on the left-hand side where he managed to get it down to the byline. It was a decent ball in the box, but other than that, he didn't really offer much. But yeah, we defended for our lives. That was a different side to us. We really did defend for our lives in that second half, and we needed to. A lot of people were saying it was poor because of the level of opponent we were against, and we shouldn't have to defend like that. But in those weather conditions, I will give it to the lads. Like I say, every time I was trying to hoof it into the opposition box, I just bring it forward. The wind was just smashing it straight back, so we really had to have all backs against the one defence. So I will just give you my quick review and thoughts on that game, and I think it was a massive, massive positive. So hopefully we can take that into this weekend's game, and hopefully the lads don't have the heads down too much from this evening's result, and we can continue to win games in the league this weekend. So that's my view on tonight's game anyway. You guys let me know what you thought in the comments down below, but if you have enjoyed this video, please hit the like button for me. It'd be massively, massively appreciated. And subscribe to the channel if you're not already to become a fully fledged member of the Sarny Army. But for now, you take care and stay jamming.